Hi everybody, Daniel from Basement Tech. Hey, I'm going to take a little break from the usual big projects and just do a quick little video on the disassembly of this camera in front of me. I bought it a few years ago. It was actually a pretty amazing amount of technology packed into one little box. It had a, what does it say, 0.3 megapixel camera, which is not amazing, but was pretty useful. And you can see it has the little infrared LEDs, so it had some night vision, it had motion control, it had user management, Wi-Fi, and wired Ethernet there. It had a stereo input for microphones and a little speaker here on the side, and it had a pan and tilt, so it could be controlled remotely. But anyway, it was a pretty neat little thing. But in the end, it got dropped on the ground onto cement and ended up not functional. As a matter of fact, it had some rattling parts inside. So I thought I'd finally, after about a year of it just sitting on the shelf, take it apart and see what was up. So getting it apart was kind of fun, in quotes, but after I figured it out, I felt a little bit stupid. So I thought, hey, there must be screws under those feet. So I popped this one off, and it was, no screws under those feet. But what it turned out is under the back 2 feet there were screws, so I took those out and it still wasn't loose. But then I realized these stickers, the QC Past and whatever this one used to say, had also screws hiding under it. So that was the way to get into the bottom, and what greeted me was the circuit board, which was pretty cool, but also this motor in its current state disconnected from its mount, which is in here. So that was part of the trauma of the crash to the cement, I suppose. If that was all it was, you know how it is. I was thinking twice about maybe trying to fix it, but pretty neat. Trying to determine whether this is a DC motor with maybe some encoders or some switches in it. It says 5 volts, but it has enough wires to be a stepper, so I'm really not sure. On this board, you can see the Wi-Fi module there, and that I am thinking of maybe salvaging and keeping, but there's a processor of some sort under here as well, and I'm guessing it ran some kind, maybe even Linux or something. It was very well disguised under their user interface. But a few crystals. This one over here is a 25 megahertz crystal, so maybe that's the processor speed. Nothing else remarkable about that, other than it's a pretty nifty design. There's some more of the chips on the back. For those of you who might know what those are, maybe make some comments. Pretty neat all in all, but this motor being broken off the mount was a little disappointing, and that's why it rattled in the one dimension. But and I thought, well, like I said, if that's all that's wrong, maybe I'll look into fixing it. But getting the rest of it disassembled was kind of tricky. So this board just came out. The screws that held the bottom on also held that board in place. This little module over here, for those of you who have done any motion control, you know, usually have limit switches. So that's what this little thing is. It goes in each direction to note when you've reached the rotational limit on that little thing. Nice little brass or bronze bushing in there, and that's what this the camera rotates on up here. So pretty neat design all in all. But to get the top off was a little bit tricky. Again, I looked in here, and you had to rotate. Hopefully I can see it, show it to you. You had to rotate it until the screws fell into those holes. Naturally, I took 2 screws out and it didn't come out, so you rotate a little further and there's one more screw. So 3 screws there to allow you to remove the top. Like I said, the top is jam-packed with stuff. It's got those infrared sensors, the camera, this ambient light detector, and that speaker on that side. But I did find too, if I take out a couple of screws underneath here, and I may have to press pause and open this up. I think I will, and then I'll come back. So there you go, a couple screws out of the bottom of that, and these little holes here overhung these little pins, so I had to pry those off. Then I found the next reason that the, I guess this is the tilt was freewheeling, and that's that this is actually broken this plastic here is actually broken off of this side, which is what controlled that tilt. So now I'm getting to the point where I'm probably not going to fix it, but I would just continue the tour of what's going on here. Lots of wires, and remember that's because there's a lot of stuff up here. 2 more screws inside here, and again I'll press the pause and come back in a second. Stand by. Okay, it's open, and that reveals the second motor, and another fairly sophisticated circuit board. Probably has the motor controller, the camera electronics, and some kind of little audio amplifier for that speaker that's up there. So anyway, pretty neat all in all. There were, by the way, in addition to those couple screws underneath, there were these other screws hiding inside these holes, which just required kind of a long Phillips head screwdriver. So anyway, for those of you who might have one of these and dropped it, or curious about what's inside, that's what's inside. Pretty neat design, obviously very, very custom and a bit proprietary, although they didn't black out the chips, which some do. Again, for those of you who want to do a little research, there's a pretty good close-up of the back side of that board. On this side, the Ethernet module. Underneath, if I can get a decent picture, another fairly substantial chip that I can't quite get the number from. So there you have it. I think it's pretty neat. Teardowns are always fun. I don't think I'll fix it. I'll try to salvage a few of the parts. And as you know, we're working on a camera with a Raspberry Pi, which in the end would be less expensive but would not be motorized. So cool. Thanks for watching. As always, if you like this, like it, and if you really like it, subscribe. Thanks, bye.